The bayous of Louisiana have long been a place of mystery and superstition, where folklore and fear intertwine like the Spanish moss hanging from ancient cypress trees. It was here, in the early 1900s, that a reign of terror unfolded, a series of brutal axe murders that left entire families butchered in their homes. The crimes were savage, the motives unclear, and the legend that followed would blur the line between fact and dark mythology. At the heart of it all stood one name: Clementine Barnabet, a young woman who would become known as the Black Widow of the Bayou. Clementine claimed to be a member of a sinister cult known as the Church of Sacrifice, an alleged sect devoted to blood rituals and human offerings. She confessed to participating in the slaughter of over 35 people, her words chillingly detailed, her demeanor unsettlingly calm. But was she truly the mastermind of these killings? Or was she simply a pawn in something even more disturbing? Some believe she was a deranged killer. Others argue she was coerced into a false confession, and a few whisper that she was a scapegoat for a darkness that Louisiana was not prepared to face. This is the story of Clementine Barnabet, the voodoo priestess, the cult member, the accused axe murderer, and the woman who vanished into obscurity after being imprisoned for crimes that, even after her arrest, continued to terrorize the South. Louisiana in the early 1900s was a land of deep racial divides, economic hardship, and an ever-present belief in the supernatural. The state was known for its connection to voodoo, a spiritual practice brought over by enslaved Africans and fused with Catholicism to create a unique belief system that still lingers in the region today. It was in this environment that a wave of brutal killings began. The first known murders occurred in the town of Crowley in 1911. The victims were a family of 5, slaughtered in their home as they slept. The crime was unlike anything the local law enforcement had ever seen. The weapon, an axe, was left at the scene, covered in blood. There were no signs of forced entry, no valuables stolen, and no apparent motive. It was murder for the sake of murder, and it sent shockwaves through the town. Before the authorities could make sense of the killings, another family was found dead in a similar fashion, and then another. The pattern was clear. Someone was targeting entire households, executing them with an almost ritualistic precision. By early 1912, the murder spree had extended beyond Crowley to other parts of Louisiana, including Lafayette and Lake Charles. The victims were primarily black families, a detail that some historians argue played a role in the slow response from law enforcement. Rumors of a cult began to spread among the terrified residents. They spoke of a group known as the Church of Sacrifice, a shadowy sect that supposedly demanded blood offerings to ensure divine protection. Some believed the killers were under the influence of a powerful voodoo priest, one who had granted them immunity from capture. As the fear grew, so did the desperation to find someone to blame. Clementine Barnabet was just 19 years old when she was arrested in 1912 in connection with the killings. She was the daughter of a local laborer, and by all accounts, she had lived a relatively unremarkable life until the murders began. Her name first surfaced when her own father, Raymond Barnabet, was arrested on suspicion of being involved in the crimes. Raymond was known for his violent temper, and when the police were looking for suspects, he seemed like a convenient choice. However, during his trial, something shocking happened. Clementine took the stand and accused her father of being responsible for the murders. But instead of exonerating herself, her testimony only led to more scrutiny. Police searched the Barnabet home and discovered damning evidence: blood-stained clothes hidden in Clementine's room. When confronted, she offered a confession that would stun even the most hardened investigators. Clementine's confession was unlike anything the police had anticipated. She did not simply admit to the murders, she described them in chilling detail, recounting how she and her fellow cult members had entered homes undetected, slaughtered families, and left the crime scenes in what she described as a holy act of sacrifice. She claimed to have been anointed by the cult's leader, who had given her a voodoo charm that made her invisible to the authorities. She spoke of midnight meetings where rituals were performed, where they pledged their souls to a higher power in exchange for supernatural protection. She explained how the Church of Sacrifice operated, how they selected their victims, and how she had participated in multiple killings herself. The confession was almost too surreal to be true. But was it? Clementine's trial was swift. The evidence against her, though largely circumstantial, was enough to secure a conviction. She was sentenced to life in prison, and for many, the case was closed. But there was one glaring problem. The murders did not stop. Even after Clementine was behind bars, more families were found dead in the same gruesome manner. Was the Church of Sacrifice real? If so, was it still operating? Or had Clementine simply been a scapegoat for a wave of violence that had no singular mastermind? These questions remain unanswered to this day. In an even stranger twist, records show that Clementine was released from prison in 1923. But after that, she vanished. There is no trace of her in any public records. No death certificate, no known whereabouts. Some say she changed her name and lived out the rest of her life in secrecy. Others believe she returned to the shadows, back to the cult that had supposedly initiated her into the world of ritualistic murder. Her story faded into obscurity, buried beneath the murky waters of Louisiana legend. And yet, every so often, whispers of the Black Widow of the Bayou resurface. Did she truly kill? Did she truly belong to a cult? Or was she a young woman caught in the hysteria of the time, forced to confess to crimes she did not commit? Over a century later, the case of Clementine Barnabet remains one of the most chilling and perplexing in true crime history. It is a tale of murder, superstition, and the thin line between belief and reality. Was she a serial killer, a pawn, or something far more mysterious? The truth may never be fully known. What do you believe? Was Clementine the mastermind behind one of Louisiana's bloodiest crime sprees, or was she a victim of circumstance? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's darkest mysteries, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night. Until next time, stay safe.